Yeah.
One thing you said earlier actually kind of ties into the whole Carrigan angle, Carrigan versus Nico, which has become this bizarre battle over the years, which is like, here's the thing. If I ignore the personality side of things, I really do. Like, I know people think I probably overhype him, but I think Carrigan's like one of the, like, he's a contender for the best IGL I've ever seen. He's like unbelievably good. What he does with all the players in his teams. You can give him stars, you can give him young players. I mean, look how many years he's done it with different squads. But I'll give you credit. One of the reasons I often would say I sort of vaguely agreed with why FaZe kicked him is because, yeah, I'll also say that as well. There's a reason why he hasn't won the major yet. When he's been in some of those big spots a couple of different times with a couple of different teams, he just comes away with this sorry story of like, nah, it just didn't work, and you know, something went wrong. Like, unfortunately, when that kind of follows you around, there's only two ways it goes. It tends to keep happening, or you figure something out. It's kind of what the Astralis players did, and suddenly you're the greatest winner ever because that one thing doesn't hold you back anymore. You know, that you get out of the way. So when you're describing it there, like the kind of leader you wanted, I would say Carrigan isn't entirely in that regard. Like, for example, he's someone where I think this is why he works great when he comes to players that haven't had the success yet. If you're like friendly with him and you think everything that he's doing is great and you have all the confidence in him, then it's going to go awesome. But there's a reason why the teams he's been in also eventually go like, we're going to go a different direction. You know, he's not maybe the most forceful figure that way. He's a leader in a different sense, right? That made me wonder, actually, because one thing I never understood, it's not that we're going to agree on this, I just like to understand people's perspective. How are they thinking? How do they come to that conclusion? Like I said about the Neo or Dren angle. Right, here's the one I always said to you. I've mentioned this many times and floated it as a past idea. The problem is this: when you see that Nico keeps saying, I don't want to be the IGL, and, you know, and never says he's the best IGL, but keeps doing it over and over again. If a fan doesn't know that angle, that you think a leader should be like someone who can be forceful, has the authority essentially, and then from that we can wonder about how good the tactics are. Well, again, if I just look as a purist in the demo and I don't think about personalities, the guy I always said is like, mate, MSL's been available like 3 or 4 times during the time span you were with FaZe. Like, if I only want a guy to call a play, he can do that, but is this someone where it wouldn't be in that mold for you? Like, you wouldn't fit that character you wanted from an IGL?
Well, I don't know MSL's character, but just like I didn't really feel like he was good enough for our team, like whether it's individually or just as a leader, because I remember playing against his teams, like those were the easiest teams to prepare against because they always do things the same way. Like every map they have maybe like 2 versions of the default and it's always the same. Like every step is always the same. They have a couple of strategies and a couple of fakes off of that, which are also always the same, right? So like we would prepare for the game and it would be so like easy to show the players what they do, and as soon as like some nades start flying, you already know what they're doing, 1 or 2 options they have out of that, right? So if someone like setting game up like that, like sure, I mean on paper I could come and then we could discuss that and change it and so on and so on, but it just wasn't one of those things where we also looked at these things as a team, right? So it just wasn't, his name was thrown in there as well, but it just wasn't something that really stuck in that sense. And also what you said about like fans and like Nico and all this stuff, I mean, it's not my job to explain things to fans in a sense, right? My job and our job is like to try and win, you know, every tournament that we can. And obviously we weren't really successful at that, but you can't go on explaining everything that goes on within the team. Like no one except 5 of them and me as a coach, like the 6 of us, no one knows why things go a certain way and why we lose or win games or what we're trying to do in games. So it's just pointless to happen, and you are scrutinized obviously publicly for your results by the fans and everything, and me and Nico were getting most of that heat, and rightfully so in a sense. You know, I'm the coach of the team, he's the in-game leader. Just think that sometimes, especially for him, it was a bit over the top and it wasn't really objective, or it wasn't really true, the things that people were saying. But yeah, it just comes with the territory, I guess.